Okay, so we're talking today atNorth. You've recently acquired 2 Finnish data centers from Advania. So I was going to ask you all about that. And then I think yesterday I got an email telling me that you've also acquired a 3rd data center in Helsinki from, is it Talberg or Talberg? So please tell me a bit more about why the background to these acquisitions, what it means.
Yeah, so both those acquisitions come from the fact that we have a pan-Nordic strategy. Currently, we are operating data centers in Iceland and Sweden. Our strategy, however, entails that we will be operating data centers pan-Nordic. Finland, obviously, is a part of the Nordics. And then maybe in a way more out of a coincidence, we set our foot down in Finland before we do it in Denmark and Norway. You might soon see something in the media about those 2 countries. We found a great opportunity to work with IT services company Advania in Finland, acquired their 2 relatively small data centers in Helsinki area. And yesterday we announced that we have now acquired a site in Espoo, which is a part of the greater Helsinki area. Basically, it's the area where most of the tech companies are located, and a couple of other larger data centers as well. So we think definitely it's at least one of the best locations to be in Helsinki. The data center location we acquired yesterday is a brownfield, and we envision to have it operational already in 2024.
Okay, so I think in answer you alluded to possible activities elsewhere in the Nordics. So is it fair to say that you are investigating sort of all these markets, and it just sort of happened that the Finnish sort of opportunities have arisen first? It wasn't any particular plan to go to Finland first before Sweden or Denmark. It's just you're looking at them all, and these ones have come to fruition before potentially others. Is that fair?
In a way, that's a fair assessment. However, we think highly of the Finnish market. We think there is a huge opportunity in the Finnish market. Finland is on the forefront of digitalization as a nation. They have a very vibrant startup scene, and our services, especially within the AI and HPC area, cater very much to those kinds of companies. Finland also has very strong fiber connectivity to Germany, and that was a big part in our decision to make those investments in Finland at this point.
Okay, and in terms of the Finnish data center market, any numbers you can give us? I don't know how many data centers, capacity, and how quickly it is growing or not. Are you able to fill us in on any of those details?
Yeah, I mean, there are currently 2 to 3 main DC operators in Finland, then a few smaller ones, probably similar data centers to the ones that we acquired late last year, so the Advania data centers. We see it as a relatively fast-growing market, grows in a similar pace as the Swedish market. Other figures I'm not that acquainted to in terms of market size. We all know probably that Google has one of their core sites in Hamina in Finland. Microsoft announced a huge build-out plans for Finland late last year. So it's not only us that have eyes on the Finnish market, obviously.
And in terms of, you mentioned the connectivity to Germany as one of the attractions, but I'm also thinking sustainability is becoming an increasingly important part of data center industry and people's decisions about, you know, where to build or where to, you know, host their equipment inside data centers. Is that another major attraction for you? I know the Baltics generally, but is Finland particularly sustainable compared to other countries?
So I mean, holistically, the Nordics are probably the most or the best location in Europe, at least, to find or build data centers in a very sustainable manner. The site we announced yesterday, we will be reusing all excessive heat generated in the data center for local district heating. The ratio of renewables on the grid in Finland is high on at least on European level. It is certainly lower than in Iceland and Norway, but the grid still has a relatively low carbon footprint, as most of the renewable energy resources on the grid comes from nuclear.
Okay, and in terms of the sort of customers, presumably you might have inherited some customers with the acquisitions already in the data center, but in terms of the customer base, are you largely looking for your Finnish data centers to serve the Finnish market, which you allude to is, you know, there's some high tech industry and it's expanding, or as you hinted with the German connectivity and stuff, do you think there's an opportunity to host, you know, other countries' you know, infrastructure in the data centers there over a period of time, if not immediately?
Yeah, I mean, in general, our strategy is obviously to host or to cater for the domestic markets where we have our data centers, including the hyperscalers. However, we have a very strong network and sales pipeline with international customers, especially in the field of HPC and AI. We believe that Finland opens up a larger part of that market based on its locations and some other positive attributes. It's obviously closer to the Baltics than what for instance Sweden and Iceland are. So we will definitely emphasize the domestic market, but with our sales network to international enterprises, we strongly believe that the Finnish assets can be very valuable.
And in terms of the data centers you require, so the two Advania ones, I'd just be interested as to how you would characterize those facilities and compared to where, I don't know if you need to upgrade them in any way, shape or form, or was the attraction that you could just take them over and you know, they were as you wanted from day one. And you mentioned the other one is a brownfield site and there's a time frame for that. So just any idea you can give us as to what you know, how much work you've got to do in what sort of time frame?
Regarding the two sites we acquired late last year, they are relatively small, so with a capacity of 1.5, maximum 2 megawatts each. They are well built, concurrently maintainable. We believe that those sites, they will cater more or less for domestic demand, whereas the new site is much better equipped to cater for international demand and the customers requiring you know, newer data center with all the requirement that comes with that, and obviously a much bigger site. Initial initial power delivered to the site, approximately 20 megawatts or 15 megawatts of IT workload, and with plenty of space to expand that even further.
Right. So yeah, the plan probably is to build sort of unit 1 or whatever, and then subsequent as time goes on and demand.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And in terms of the overall atNorth portfolio of data centers, it'd be good to understand now how many data centers you have across the Nordics region, if you can.
Yeah, so our plan is to build or establish data center footprint in all of the Nordic capitals. We are already in Reykjavik, Stockholm, and now Helsinki, which leaves then Copenhagen and Oslo, obviously, out of the equation for now, but hopefully that will change later this year. Those sites are typically similar to the one that we introduced yesterday. So approximately with a capacity of 15 megawatts of IT load. On top of that, we envision to build a few mega sites catering for hyperscale and international HPC and AI workloads. Those sites are not in the cities, rather a bit outside of the cities, even remote, where we have access to plenty of land to build so that we can optimize for the cooling process and have access to abundance of renewable energy. We have one such site in Iceland currently, where we have 83 megawatt power connection, and are building actually the second site of that type in Iceland, which we plan to open in the second quarter of 2023.
Okay, so it sounds as if you are, and I don't want to force you to tell me things that you know a secret at the moment, but it sounds as if you're fairly confident. You're talking about Stockholm, Oslo, and stuff, as if you've already. I mean, are you in negotiations with people, or have you identified opportunities that you've now got to follow? It sounds the way you're talking as if you're fairly confident things are going to happen this year, as if you may be, some of the way to actually sealing acquisitions.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have a site in Stockholm. We have already identified, a second site in Stockholm. In both in Oslo and Copenhagen, we have identified a few options we are working on. A bit too early to make some announcements, but our target is definitely to secure the sites and the building plans already this year.
Okay, and I mean, it sounds as if you're going to be quite busy just within the Nordics, but I think I asked last time, and I'll ask again, but do you anticipate moving outside of, as and when opportunities arise, or say in, I don't know, 4 years time, if you've built out your Nordic sort of data center infrastructure, do you think there's an opportunity, or would you actively look to grow again, whether it's the countries bordering on the Baltics? Any thoughts as to where you might go?
Yeah, exactly. Currently, our focus and strategy is revolving around the Nordics. What will happen in a couple of years, I can't tell now, but at least for now, we see the opportunities for us being in the Nordics. All of the Nordic countries hold different merits for our customers, and we strongly believe that the Nordics are one of the best locations in the world, and definitely in Europe, for building a decarbonizing data center platform like we are doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've noticed the increase in build, and as you say, customer. So are you noticing, and again, I don't want to labour the point, because you're saying obviously a lot of what you're doing is to serve the domestic market, but are you beginning to field inquiries from companies elsewhere within Europe, say, that are looking at their sustainability agendas and thinking, well, I can have a data center in my own country or wherever, and that's not as sustainable, and if it's not time critical, latency and all those kind of things, it makes sense perhaps to move to the Nordics, where I can demonstrate and enjoy much more sustainable location and infrastructure. Is that beginning to happen?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, and there are two main drivers for moving to the Nordics. It's sustainability, as you say, but not least TCO. I definitely think you can achieve the same. You cannot achieve the same TCO many other places in Europe.
Okay, well, it's been great to chat and get an update with atNorth. It sounds like, as I say, you're going to be very busy over the next months. So, Magnus, thanks very much indeed for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.